This continues our series on citing your sources, and here we're focusing on reference citations and works cited pages in MLA format. By the end of the lesson, you will be able to define a works cited page and a reference citation. You will know how to use online resources to create reference citations, and you'll be able to navigate problems in creating these citations as well as make your own works cited page. Your keywords are works cited pages, reference citations, including online resources and navigating problems, and how to make a works cited page. You know that avoiding plagiarism requires a lot of things, like being careful about how many words you borrow from the source before you need to quote, and making sure you're careful to paraphrase properly if you're not quoting, and using in-text citations, because giving credit to your sources is very important. In addition to in-text citations, you need to have a reference page, and MLA has a standard format for reference citations and reference pages, as well as in-text citations. This is called a works cited, which is a list of all your reference citations that you've used in a paper. Reference citations are a list of the author, title, publisher, publication date, and type of source that allow a work to be identified. You put these citations in a list at the end of your paper on a separate page, and this allows your readers to locate your full source so they can go and look it up for themselves and verify the accuracy of the information you've given them, which helps you build credibility. So here we're avoiding plagiarism by creating reference citations, which of course show your reader how to find your source. You need a reference citation for every single source that you use in your paper. And because there's so much variation in what goes into different types of sources, reference citations, finding a good online tool is your best bet. This is NightCite. NightCite is my favorite online tool because it allows you to create reference citations for all three citation formats. Here we've selected MLA, and you can see the different citation types down the side. What's really nice about this is that as you click it, it changes the fields that you need to fill out. So you could just fill out the information and it will let you generate a citation when you're done. This includes an entire website or if you just do a single web page. So all you have to do really is know that you need MLA citation and figure out which source type over here is the best bet for what you're trying to cite. From there, you would just fill out the fields, all the little things, and with the information and click submit, and it will create you a citation. Here's where we get into problem solving. If we were working on a website page, we don't have an author. That's a problem. We just skip to the website title. Modern Language Association. We don't know an editor, but the title is Creating In-Text Citations. And of course, this would be the Modern Language Association because they are their own publisher. Sometimes we don't have a date. If you don't have a date, you don't put a date. Most of the time, if you're searching on the web, you're not finding a resource from the database. So you would keep no on this one, you'd keep no on there, and just include the date accessed. It autofills that. So you would submit. You do not have to include the URL. This creates you a website. It's that simple. So if you don't have the information, your problem-solving solution is to leave out the information. Now, there is one note I want you to keep here, and that is this. If you don't have an author, and the page is untitled, and it doesn't have a publisher, and it doesn't have a date, check the credibility of your source. Because if you're leaving more things empty than not, your source is probably not very reliable and you need to find something else. So, when you don't know information, you are simply going to leave the field blank. But we're going to make sure that if we're missing too much citation information, that we've rechecked the source's credibility. And that leads us to building a works cited page. Very, very simple thing. You start with a Word document, and this would typically be the last page of your paper. So you would already have certain things set up, like your header. Headers should have page numbers and your last name. So if this were my works cited, I would keep my header, and of course you want your format to match the format of your paper. And that would set that up there. And then we just title it a works cited. Since we're using Night Cite, we're going to create a few sources. We'll start with a basic book, and we are going to go with a Julia Smith. Writing original works. And we'll say it's published by Scholastic. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, all of my sources in here are made up sources because I'm not citing them, I'm giving you examples. Typically these things are published in New York. We'll say it was published in 2014. The source does have pagination, which means it has page numbers, but unless you're using a specific set of pages, you won't fill this part out. Say it's a print source, which means it's a hardback book you could pick up, and there would be your citation. Copy it and paste it. We'll make a couple more citations here. Let's do an anthology where you have an author and an editor. We are going to reset that one. And this time we'll make up a Mr. Mark Frank. And this one is Skills of Academic Writing. We're going to make it the 3rd edition. We'll have another editor here. And this one will be Roberts. Oh, here, we'll move that one there. We'll make the whole anthology this, and he just wrote this one section, which is avoiding plagiarism. And this one could be published by McGraw from Boston in 2016. Okay, this one you would need pagination on because you're just using one section of the anthology, so we'll say it's pages 35 to 45, and again it was a print. We have a new citation, and we'll go over here and copy and paste that one. Then we're going to start another new citation, and this time we're going to do a website document. We will go to the number of authors. We're going to use the modern language. No author on that part. We'll do Modern Language Association for the website title. We don't have an author's name, but this one is going to be citing sources. And the Modern Language Association again. This time we'll include a date because they're probably pretty current and keep theirs up to date. You'd find that copy right at the bottom of a page. Not a database, not a database. We don't need a URL. So we submit that and we have a citation. Copy and paste that one. Now we have 3 sources we can work with, turning into a works cited page. First step, we want to make sure these are in alphabetical order. So select and drag them into alphabetical order by the first part of their citation. C, F, and S. All right, next up, we want everything here to be in Times New Roman font size 12. So let's go with Control A to select everything, Times New Roman, font size 12. Good. Our citations need to be left aligned. They should not be centered like the title. So they get left aligned. Now all of our work needs to be double spaced. That's the whole page. So Control A again, and make sure to format it so that it's double spaced. And then the last step is making sure that any citation that has more than one line also has a hanging indent. We have two, so we're going to set this up. Select the two citations, click on this bottom triangle and drag it halfway over, and then click on the top rectangle and drag it halfway back. And that sets up your hanging indentations. This is what a works cited page should look like, and you will be having some practice making some as we move into our research project. Having a reference page is a vital part of avoiding plagiarism. You have to have one in order to avoid it and cannot just cite internally. Your reference page needs a reference citation for every source you use to establish your credibility.